I was having Yasha Rico from StreetScores. We have three main topics, even though the first two we're going to spend the most time on, especially with that Baltimore Ravens versus Commanders injury update that I have for y'all. Of course, like I said, I'm going to update y'all daily on the injuries that are going down for both teams. And then when I do my preview video tomorrow, I'm going to do like the final one, who's out, who's in, all of that type of stuff. But of course, we're here to talk about as well, the Washington Commanders may be one of 5 teams interested in wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins, potentially trading a low draft pick for him. Also, Sam Hartman was cut, but we're going to talk about in this video why, if you're a Sam Hartman fan, you shouldn't necessarily be worried. And before we dive into all of that, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned for all of the content. Really appreciate y'all checking out all of the content. Make sure you pull up for the upcoming Commanders versus Ravens showdown. I will be live streaming that play-by-play analysis. Can't wait to show y'all all of my new reactions, sounds, and effects for the stream and everything. I'm super excited about that. And make sure you be on the lookout for my preview video breaking down all of the Baltimore Ravens' biggest weaknesses and strengths that we need to worry about, that we need to attack, all of that type of stuff. And I will give you the final injury update for that as well. So be on the lookout for that. Really appreciate y'all. And let's go ahead and dive into this video, man. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so to go in an exact order of where I saw the information that the Washington Commanders may be interested. First of all, I saw My Love for Washington on Instagram. They said Titan star wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins is likely to be traded before the trade deadline. And I have heard rumors about that the past couple of weeks, with the Commanders listed as a top destination due to his connection with offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury. That doesn't make a lot of sense too. Cliff Kingsbury was the head coach and the guy running the entire offense when DeAndre Hopkins was over there balling for the Cardinals just a few years ago, playing at a high level no matter where he was, really literally until up like this Titans point of his career. And even then he's still balling, but it's just not the Cardinals and Texans self. But that's just coming with age. That's also coming with being like the focal point of an offense to where everybody's focusing on stopping you, because the rest of the offense isn't necessarily that good. And he's also been banged up and been getting hurt quite a bit lately as well. Now moving on, you have Will Thomas of Titan Sized of Fansided.com. He wrote an article of Titans wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins named as potential trade candidate as deadline approaches. Again, this is coming from a Tennessee Titans reporter and writer. He said, could the Titans end up trading DeAndre Hopkins? It's a long explanation in his article as to why they more than likely will end up trading him before the trade deadline. He probably wants to go to a contender, and the Titans, who aren't just that good right now, may want to accumulate as many draft picks and as much draft capital as possible so that they can build towards the future, because they're not necessarily winning anything meaningful this season. So it could be a win-win for DeAndre Hopkins to leave for himself so he can go to a better team and a team that's trying to win, and especially at this age, and then the Titans could potentially get draft capital from it. But at the end of the article, he says keep an eye on which team wins the Adams sweepstakes, because those who fail on their quest to acquire Davante Adams could then turn their attention to DeAndre Hopkins, who is maybe not as good at this point in his career, but also probably going to cost you less. Now, of course, Davante Adams is the better receiver, especially at this point in their careers, but he's also the more expensive one, not only just trade-wise, but what you'd have to pay him as well. And we're not even just talking 2024. We're talking about beyond that after you re-sign. If you potentially re-sign Davante Adams compared to re-signing DeAndre Hopkins is definitely going to ask for less money, especially on a per-year basis, on an annual basis. We're going to get to that soon when we get to the cap situation for DeAndre Hopkins. But finishing up with the article from the Titans reporter, the Kansas City Chiefs, Washington Commanders, New England Patriots, Buffalo Bills, and New York Jets all have a wide receiver need and extra top 10 picks they could entice the Titans with. So that's all the connection is right now. I'm not trying to clickbait y'all. It's not like there's just a reporter that said that the Washington Commanders are trying to trade for DeAndre Hopkins and it's a definitive thing. It's just like a Titans basically reporters saying that it makes a lot of sense for the Commanders to do this, and we're here in this video to talk about whether it would be worth it for us to explore that options, because Hopkins is on an expiring contract. He will not be worth a lot of money right now. He can't demand much, because right now, the final year of his contract, he is an $18.313 million cap hit. That's not bad at all. Not at all. Compared to Davante Adams, who is a $25 million cap hit this year. How about a $44 million cap hit in 2025 and a $44 million cap hit in 2026? So that's automatic. You trade for Davante Adams, be ready to pay him $88 million over the next 2 years. Whereas DeAndre Hopkins, his contract ends after this season, and he's a little bit older at 32 years old. Well, they're basically like the same age, actually, but D-Hop has him by a couple of months, actually, like probably like 5 or 6. But honestly, it feels like D-Hop is just older just because Davante Adams has especially been the healthier receiver the past few years, whereas D-Hop is kind of showing his age a little bit with the fact that he's less explosive than he used to be, and as much as he stayed hurt compared to Davante Adams, where he still seems like he's basically in his prime. I can't necessarily say the same for D-Hop. So again, you would be able to trade less for D-Hop. Like if Davante Adams is going for like a first or a second, maybe D-Hop is going for a third or a fourth. You just never know. And then on top of that, you would have to pay DeAndre Hopkins way less money you would have to pay Davante Adams. So if Adam Peters, instead of going after Brandon Ayuk and Davante Adams, who are top-notch receiver money value as far as trades go, and as far as like what you'd have to pay him for a new contract, or even, I mean, Davante Adams' contract is already set in stone. For the next 2 years after this season, you got to pay him $44 million each. So instead of going for those more higher tier, higher priority receivers that are still almost in their prime, kind of, but that's why they cost so much, maybe you go after DeAndre Hopkins, who, first of all, can't necessarily stay healthy. It seems like he's past his prime, and I mean, he just doesn't seem like, I mean, I don't feel like anybody out there is saying that DeAndre Hopkins is better than Davante Adams today. And again, I know DeAndre Hopkins will be more than happy to dip up out of the losing that the Titans are doing right now. They're not a terrible team, but Will Levis is showing some potential at sometimes, some flashes, and then at times showing you, why did we even think this guy could start a quarterback for us? He may be tired of it. He may be just ready to go. I'm aging. I keep getting hurt, so I'm not going to get any more athletic, any healthier than as is. So let me try to go to a potential Super Bowl contender with a great quarterback so I can go out there, put up some great stats before I get up out of this game and try to win a Super Bowl, get a ring out of it and things like that. So why wouldn't he prefer to be on the Commanders than the Titans? Again, it's all about if Adam Peters feels like it's worth it. If he doesn't, I'm cool. My whole thing with all of these trades, except the JC Horn one, I'm like, man, please go get him. But every other trade that's been, that any name that we've talked about on this channel, I'm honestly just like, if Adam Peters thinks it's a good idea, then I'm with it. If he doesn't think it's a good idea, then I'm assuming he's right, because he hasn't missed yet. Look at the way that he remodeled, completely rebuilt, revitalized this offensive line, this entire team from top to bottom. Anything Adam Peters says or does, I'm going to give him the strongest, the utmost benefit of the doubt. But ultimately, I think DeAndre Hopkins, depending on what the draft pick the Titans could potentially be looking for, may be worth it to bring in here. I mean, even if you're looking at his Pro Football Focus grades, now granted, this season, he's only has a 69.2 overall grade, which is the lowest he's had since his rookie season of 2013 with a 68.7. Every other year than that, he's been better than what he's been so far this year. But just like I talked about with Amari Cooper and even JC Horn and even Davante Adams, this most recent year, this 2024 season, it kind of seems like these guys are giving up on their teams. And if they just change locations, go to a team that they want to play for a little bit more at least, I think you'll get more 2023 out of them. That has been a common theme about everybody that we've talked about over the past week or two about who we should possibly trade for. Because all of these guys have had one of their worst seasons of their career so far, Pro Football Focus grading wise, through 5 weeks of 2024, but just this last season they still played at a pretty high level, all of them. Because 2023 wise, DeAndre Hopkins, how about an 81 grade, which would make him the 10th highest graded wide receiver if he were playing at that level and had that grade this season, only behind Nico Collins, Chris Olave, Chris Godwin, Rashee Rice, Jawan Jennings, Devonta Smith, Justin Jefferson, Drake London, and Jamar Chase. Only receivers ahead of him according to Pro Football Focus grades if he played how he played in 2023 and 2024. That's ahead of Malik Neighbors, even my Georgia dog Lad McConkey, Jaden Reed, Josh Downs, T. Higgins, Marvin Harrison Jr., Brian Thomas Jr., Stephon Diggs, Mike Evans, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Brandon Ayuk, Debo Samuel, every single Commanders receiver. How about that? That's the most important part, which takes me to my next point. The only problem is, though, and this is the problem with really any receiver we're talking about potentially trading for, especially a Devontae Adams, but now it's definitely to a lesser extent for a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, is there is an element of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If you heard me talk about that and say that several times over the past week, because we have a historical offense right now through 5 weeks, and we still haven't even fully realized with Luke McCaffrey's potential because he's been open so much and Jaden Daniels just hasn't simply seen him a lot of the times that he's been open. So there's still like production left out there on the field just by Jaden Daniels. He has room to grow, and even Luke McCaffrey can emerge as a better receiver just because of that. But even though we have been historical through 5 seasons, we don't necessarily, I wouldn't say we have a great receiver room. I wouldn't even say we have a top 10 receiver room in the NFL. But at the same time, if we're hooping at a historical pace right now, I mean, we're up there with we're outpacing like the 2007 Patriots and the 1999 Rams and things like that. It's still an element of why fix what's not broken here. But at the same time, we're just going to keep going back and forth. It's like I'm arguing with myself. Cliff Kingsbury does have a history of letting his offenses fall off the face of the earth in the second halves of seasons after defenses learn what he's doing and figure out how to counter it. And maybe by then, having another receiver that demands attention from opposing defenses may not allow them to do that to him. Maybe he can keep going and have his first full season of having one of the best offenses in the NFL. He has yet to do that. Like, imagine if D-Hop's point of view being like going from being the clear number 1 receiver in Arizona with Cliff to being wide receiver, you could say 2.5, because Terry's your wide receiver 1. Like, if we trade for Devontae Adams is your wide receiver 1 easily. I feel like if you trade for D-Hop, Terry McLaurin would probably more than likely still be your wide receiver 1. He would just be wide receiver 2, but I say 1.5 because Noah Brown has been stepping up big time when healthy to be our wide receiver 2. He has missed 2 games. The first one was the first game of the season because he just got signed. He didn't know the playbook. And then he just most recently missed his Browns game due to injury. And he is a guy that you can't necessarily depend on staying healthy for the majority of the season. That was the one downside when we were talking about potentially going to sign him. I was like, this is a great receiver. He's going to make our receiver core better. He's going to make Jaden Daniels' job easier, but he just can't stay healthy. So at the same time, as much as I love Noah Brown, maybe bringing in a D-Hop who also has injury concerns as well could be like a healthy rotation of at least one of them has to be healthy, right? Somebody has to be healthy to go out there and help Terry McLaurin not continue to get double teamed and things like that. So again, if you ask me, it depends on what the draft pick is. Like, to give you a full concrete answer, if the Titans are willing to get rid of D-Hop for like a 5th round pick and we just got to pay him $18 million this year, and I'm not gonna lie, I think that's the most money he'll make going forward. Like, I think at this point in his career, with the injuries, with the age and things like that, and then him coming here and he wouldn't even be the number 1 receiver, I don't think he'll be able to demand $18 million annually with his next contract. It will probably be something very cheap. And then even on his end, with him potentially playing for a team that's going to contend for Super Bowl sooner rather than later, maybe he'd be willing to come here for less money than he would be what he would charge the Titans if he stayed in Tennessee. So you just never know. So he'll probably be cheaper than you think. If he's going for like a 5th, I feel like just why not? I acknowledge that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I'm just worried about the Cliff Kingsbury curse where the second half of seasons, maybe D-Hop can unlock that, especially like mainly because D-Hop was there in Arizona when that kept happening to Cliff Kingsbury, and maybe now he knows, okay, by second halves of seasons, I can give him this advice from a receiver's point of view. Maybe you could do these things to avoid defenses catching up with you like that, or even just as a receiver on the field, even outside of just strategy and X's and O's, even on the field, maybe he'll just be like, man, I've already been through this like 3-4 years. I'm not letting that happen again. I'm tired of being with Cliff Kingsbury and his offense just falls off of the face of the earth second half of seasons. Hey man, just give me the ball, I'll make something shake type of thing. And if you go look at what he's done for the Titans the past couple of years, when healthy, he's still been a really good receiver and obviously a boost to our receiving core. But again, like I said, Olamide Zaccheaus still has some potential there unlocked, especially with him being used in like a Tavon Austin gadget type of role, like to basically replace what we lost from Curtis Samuel not having him, or Adam Peters, what he had in Debo Samuel and guys like that. Again, Luke McCaffrey is top 10 right now in the NFL, and getting open, basically. I forgot the exact advanced stat, but Luke McCaffrey is one of the top 10 best wide receivers at getting open in the NFL. Jaden Daniels just missing them a lot. You saw it a lot in that Browns game. He was just missing them, running wide open. The defense worried about Terry. Luke McCaffrey wide open for like 40, 50-yard bombs, maybe even touchdowns. And then, again, Noah Brown, he comes back healthy. But still, man, if D-Hop is only going for a fifth, you pay him $18 million this year. We have the cap space for that. And then you pay him like way less than that moving forward. I'm not saying veteran minimum, but definitely not $18 million per year moving forward. I think it'd personally be worth it, but that's just me. Of course, let me know in the comment section how you feel about this situation. Now, moving on to the next main part of this video before we get to the third real quick part at the end, the Sam Hartman part. We got to do this update for this injury report for the Washington Commanders, and overall, everything is moving in a positive way, technically for both teams. Now, granted, both of our teams have a lot of injuries on our injury report, but everybody's getting healthier, if anything, outside of really for us, for Darian Mathis now dealing with an illness, and Brian Robinson not participating in practice 2 days in a row, along with Tyler Owens. Outside of that, all of our injuries improved, or they pretty much stayed the same, but none of them really got worse outside of Darian Mathis going from good to go Wednesday, not even on the injury report, to suddenly dealing with an illness now. I mean, even if you're looking at it, Nick Allegretti went from did not participate on Wednesday, which has kind of been the case for the past couple of weeks, to limited today. I'm pretty sure he'll be good to go against the Ravens. Noah Brown, I already updated y'all on that yesterday. Well, technically as in Wednesday, October 9th, because right now it just turned 12:01 a.m. Friday, October 11th, but you get what I mean. Already gave y'all the update on Noah Brown technically a couple of days ago about how Dan Quinn even said that he's hopeful that he'll return from injury and be able to play against the Ravens, and he's been limited twice so far in practice, whereas he didn't participate last week. So I'm thinking Noah Brown should be good to go. Percy Butler still dealing with groin injury, limited both days. We'll see with that. Cleveland Farrell is limited for the first time in weeks, so maybe he returns against the Ravens. Quan Martin still limited, but Austin Eckler went from limited to full. That's great news. Running back, pass protection, receiving back, and special teams wise, Austin Eckler helps us in at least 4 major ways on offense, so having him healthy is great. I just hope that Brian Robinson is good to go, but I'm assuming, just to go back to Brian Robinson real quick, I'm assuming he's good to go, like I said a couple of days ago on my injury report, that I think Brian Robinson is going to play because he barely played against the Browns. Dan Quinn said that that was on purpose. He ended up with 2 touchdowns, but I think it was only like 7 carries. They only used them when they felt like they absolutely had to, and Dan Quinn also said by the end of the game, they felt like, if anything, he's only getting healthier. He didn't receive any further injuries and make anything worse that he was already dealing with. So if anything, just with time passing, Brian Robinson is going to be healthier going against the Ravens than he was against the Browns. So I'm expecting him to play, but I understand why they're not letting him practice right now. Emmanuel Forbes full to go. Dante Fowler was dealing with the illness. Now he's back Thursday, so I don't know if Darian Mathis caught the same thing Dante Fowler was dealing with. We'll see. And then Jordan McGee and FL Bada healthy. It looks like, I don't know if they're going to play yet. Remember, they're currently in that 21-day practice window that probably only has like 12, 14 days left in it before you got to bring them back up from IR, which means they'll play at the latest. At the latest, I think we'll see Jordan McGee and FL Bada by the Panthers game. Maybe, I mean, if you want to go, I don't even think Bears. I think Bears is outside of that 21-day window since we brought them up from allowing them to practice while they've been on IR. They're still technically on IR, but they're allowed to practice under that 21-day window. Again, we're only like 14 days left in it. I'm not going to lie. I think the Panthers game is the last game that these guys can avoid playing without ending up on IR for the rest of the season. So I think basically they have a chance of playing against the Ravens, but I'm almost sure they're going to play at least by the Panthers game, but I really hope we get Jordan McGee for that Ravens game, man. I really, really do, man. We need that additional coverage, dog. We really, really need that coverage, man. Now, moving on to the final point of this video, the final topic. The Commanders apparently waived Sam Hartman, but that's literally how people just left it. Like, Tom Pelissero tweeted that, and then, of course, some people were panicking. Some people that are Sam Hartman fans were panicking, like, oh, no, we cut him. But John Com came out and tweeted a little later that Washington has released Sam Hartman. The Commanders have a spot remaining on the practice squad, which is more than likely why we released Justin Hollins, the defensive end, yesterday. Well, technically, as in Wednesday, October 9th. We cut him, it might have been Tuesday even, maybe Monday. But either way, we cut defensive end Justin Hollins from the practice squad, knowing that we would have to open up a spot to put Sam Hartman onto the practice squad, because now we need a spot on the roster. You know why? Because that sounds like F.A. Abada or Jordan McGee should be ready to go against the Ravens. It sounds like they're making a spot for at least one of them. I didn't hear 2 spots open, so I'm not expecting to get both of them back. But Jordan McGee, please, if I had to pick one of the 2, I really hope Jordan McGee is the guy that's getting Sam Hartman's spot on the active 53-man roster, man. We really need him. This is a great time to get Jordan McGee back. If he's healthy and good to go, if he's ready, this is a great time. Couldn't have been a better time. And I'm going to break it down in greater detail when I give y'all my preview video against the Ravens. Again, I'm going to break down like their weaknesses and strengths, what we need to attack, what we need to worry about, offense, defense, all phases of the game, positional groups, all of that type of stuff. But just to let you know, we run nickel a lot, while the Ravens run a lot of 2 tight end sets. And that could be a big mismatch for our defense. They get into 2 tight end sets and we're out there with a 5th defensive back. That could really hurt us in the run game. So getting Jordan McGee back onto the field as a 3rd linebacker rather than having a 5th DB could be a huge help. And the reason you can have Jordan McGee out there rather than any other linebacker outside of Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu, who have barely touched the field this season, is because Jordan McGee can cover. But the reason that Jordan McGee is an advantage over a 5th DB is that he's not only out there for coverage, he's a big linebacker that can also stop the run as well. Just like having a 5th DB on the field, you have them out there because we're trying to help our coverage situation. Jordan McGee helps your coverage situation as a linebacker. So he could be that important chess piece that could return for us going against the Ravens. That could also help in both coverage and against the run, which would keep the Ravens a little bit more honest rather than just spamming us with 2 tight end sets and then we never adapt. Because honestly, if they run 2 tight end sets against us all the time, which they've been doing so far this season, what is our counter to that? We don't have another linebacker we can throw out there that we really trust right now. It's been the Frankie Louvu and Bobby Wagner show so far. That's literally it. So Jordan McGee coming back healthy would be huge. F.A. Abada having him as a very athletic pass rusher that can add some speed to that defensive line group that could potentially hog down a guy like Lamar Jackson, or at least have a better chance of doing it, because nobody can hog down Lamar Jackson 1v1. You just got to hope somebody else keeps him busy, and then F.A. Abada has enough speed to catch him before he delivers the ball or jukes out the guy in front of him. That would help. Having F.A. Abada help would help as well. I'm hoping that we clear another roster spot so we can keep both of them. But if I had to pick between the 2, please, Jordan McGee. That's going to be really big against those 2 tight end sets that they run. Even though, remember, he is a 5th-round rookie that missed all of the preseason except for like the first drive, maybe the first preseason. He played like a little bit. And then a lot of the offseason that hasn't played at all this entire regular season. So don't expect him to go out there and immediately look like Fred Warner or anything like that. But I am really excited about his potential, and the sooner we get him onto the field, the sooner he'll acclimate himself to the NFL speed, to the NFL level of talent, understanding the defense, gaining chemistry with the guys around him. The sooner he'll get better at the sport just in general, and I just hope he can have any sort of impact, positive impact for our defense against the Ravens, especially with those 2 tight end sets again. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section, let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. How do you feel about everything discussed in this video, especially trading for DeAndre Hopkins? What are you willing to give up? Like, what's the highest draft pick you'd be willing to give him? And then what is the type of contract you'd be willing to give him? Would you just give him a cheap 1-year prove-it deal after this 2023 season if he shows that he can find success in this offense and help improve Cliff Kingsbury's inability to adapt to defenses in the second half of seasons? Let me know how you feel about, of course, the whole DeAndre Hopkins situation. Do you prefer him over Devontae Adams just simply because he's cheaper, trade-wise and contract-wise? How do you feel about our injury report right now? How do you feel about Brian Robinson not participating in practice? For Darian Mathis coming off of the best game of his life and now dealing with the illness. How do you feel about us potentially getting back Jordan McGee or F.A. Abada and we had to cut Sam Hartman to do it? Let me know how you feel about all of that. Of course, I'm going to try my best to read and reply to as many videos as possible, even though I've been super busy. Really appreciate y'all. Make sure you do not leave this video without stiff arm that like button. Catch y'all later. I'm out.